Hello, and welcome to another episode of Talking with the Experts. I'm Mike Nichols, your host and AM's content and social media manager. On today's episode, we're diving into how AI is changing the face of wildfire detection and mitigation. And to help me, I've invited two experts to share their unique perspectives. They're Deborah Deininger of N5 Sensors and AM's very own Keith Lombard. Deborah, Keith, thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Mike. Always happy to talk about this subject.
Yeah, it's a great subject. I'm looking forward to diving in. I think it's always important for our listeners to know something about the perspectives that our experts are bringing to the table. So, Deborah, maybe you could share what N5 Sensors does, and along with that, maybe a little bit about your own personal background.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. So I've actually worked in environmental sensing for over 30 years in everything from industrial health and safety applications to consumer electronics. I joined N5 4 years ago because I was really excited about the potential for N5 sensor technology to make a difference in our daily lives. What we do is we detect the unknown. N5 was founded in 2012 as a spinout from the University of Maryland. We've done a lot of work on military contracts, and our first commercial product is wildfire and air quality detection. This really hits home for me because I live in Colorado, which is a wildfire prone state. I'm excited to work in this area and make a product that can make a difference for myself, my neighbors, and our communities.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Deborah. I'm excited to dive into that a little bit further. But before we do, Keith, maybe you could share a little bit about your role at AM and your background in firefighting.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Keith Lombard, Senior Manager of AM, the Federal U.S. Wildfire. I have a background in frontline firefighting, federal civilian sales to help deliver cutting-edge wildfire technology into the space. Over 16 years of experience both in the force side and the structural side, and a decade of supporting federal agencies firsthand with challenges of wildfire professionals. And my mission is to bridge that gap between the operational needs and innovative solutions to ensure wildfire teams are equipped with faster, smarter, safer solutions.
Thanks, Keith. Yeah, we've got two really great wildfire experts here, so I'm thrilled to have the two of you. Keith, I'd like to open the conversation with you, if you don't mind. As I understand it, there are a number of companies that have started to build AI into remote cameras to help detect smoke from wildfires. Could you walk us through how that's supposed to work and what those initiatives are like?
Yeah, as I understand it, a number of companies have started to build AI into their cameras to help early wildfire detection, automating and identifying the smoke, heat signatures, or even changes in the landscape behavior could indicate potential ignition sources. So there are definitely a lot of companies out there that are implementing AI into their system, and it is definitely growing.
Thanks, Keith. As I also understand it, though, I've heard AI cameras do have some inherent limitations. Deborah, that's something you know a little bit about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so cameras are a great tool in helping to find wildfires, whether they're being watched by a human or being watched by the AI. Of course, AI is great because it never gets tired and always pays attention, unlike humans. But even with the AI-enabled cameras, they're still not perfect. Sometimes that camera view can be obscured. Maybe it's cloudy or foggy, and it becomes a little bit hard to detect the smoke column and how that differs from what else is in the sky. Also, the smoke plume has to be large enough that you can see it from the camera. So sometimes the tree canopy will get in the way of that. So they're a great tool, but they're not perfect.
That makes sense. Now, I understand N5 Sensors has come up with a different way to identify wildfire smoke. So maybe you could walk us through what that is and how it differs.
Absolutely. So at N5, we're using gas, chemical, and particulate sensors to create an electronic sense of smell. So just like we as humans could smell smoke and know that there's a fire somewhere nearby, that's what N5 Shield is doing electronically. We're using AI for pattern recognition so that we can detect if a fire is nearby. Although because we're using AI, it's a little bit more like a dog's nose than a human nose, because we've got a lot of ability to distinguish and identify scents, even when they're coming from quite far away.
Oh, wow. Very interesting. I think there's something I'd read on your website, and I think this is important. The sensors you're using are multimodal. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So, dogs are so good at smelling because they've got so many receptors. And that's what we're doing with our sensors. So our sensors are combining 4 channels of particulate measurements. We've got 24 gas channels. We're also measuring temperature, humidity, pressure, wind. So bringing and heat as well. I are heat sensors. So bringing all of this information together is what's letting our AI pattern recognition really understand if we're detecting a fire, or maybe we're smelling something, but it's actually a barbecue. Don't want to call the fire department for that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a very good point. I think that's a really important insight you've brought up, Deborah. When we start factoring in multiple sources of information into the equation, you really start to dramatically increase confidence in decision making. And then, of course, that translates into, when moments matter, being able to act faster and more decisively. Um, and I think that concept was the driving force behind AEM's multi-source ignition detection, wasn't it, Keith?
Yeah, when we talk about multi-source ignition detection, MSID, we really are talking about AEM's Elements 360 platform, which brings together the ecosystem and detection tools into one decision-ready system. And it starts with AI smoke detection from our camera network. We pick up smoke signatures even in challenging environments. We also integrate AI-based chemical smoke detection, which can identify combustible particulates and gases in the air, useful at night when visibility is low. And we also do lightning detection, AI lightning detection. We can actually pinpoint lightning strikes, but also distinguish cloud to ground activity, dry lightning, and high risk ignition source. We also layer in satellite hotspots and real-time readings. And we do this all with MSID, and it lies in the ability to fuse all that into one single dashboard. And I think that's what Elements 360 really brings together for fire chiefs, utility operators, emergency managers. They don't need to chase down 10 different tools to understand what's happening, and they can see everything in one place.
So it's fusing the data into one coherent dashboard. That's essentially what's happening, right? So you get the alert from the AI that says, looks like there's smoke in the area, and then you can go corroborate that. Is that right?
Correct. And I think too, they can rely on everything in one space, and then they can cross-reference the alerts really to false positives, and they can act on those. And it gives them the tools to do that.
And being able to identify those false positives is what contributes to that confidence we were talking about, right? Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense. Now, in addition to fusing the data into a coherent dashboard for decision makers, which is what MSID does, right? I understand there's also been some work on training AI algorithms across multiple modalities of information. So you end up with what we might call a fused AI. And Deborah, I think you hinted at this a little earlier, but I think it's worth drawing out a little more explicitly. You've done some work along those lines at N5 Sensors already, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that N5 is doing. AEM is also doing it, and AEM and N5 are even working on it together. So for our own sensors, we are fusing across those different detection mechanisms, and we're also using the power of the network. So when we deploy sensors, we never put one sensor out by itself, but we always put out a network of sensors. So they're relying on each other to get smarter and to understand what's in the environment. And then in addition to that, working with AEM, they're also bringing in this other pieces of information so that all of the data ultimately gets fused together in a way that the system is acting a little bit like a human does to make decisions in real time.
Oh, wow. That is just fascinating. Incredible technology. So I wonder, though, with human judgment, right? It's not just looking and processing data. Context matters. Context clues. We take clues from our environment all the time. So I wonder if contextual clues like weather, fuel states, if those might eventually make sense for training the AI, feeding that in as well. Keith, I'd love to get your opinion on that.
Yeah. So one of our core strengths with AEM Wildfire Intelligence is our remote weather stations and networks out there, our RAW stations that are out there, have really become the gold standard in weather monitoring across North America, and they provide highly localized real-time data. So we're talking about wind speed, humidity, temperature, and other key weather indicators for first responders to rely on. The thing is that weather alone doesn't tell the whole story. We've got to expand the capabilities beyond weather. So we're going to deliver global scale fuel data. And this is where it gets really exciting. Every 10 days, We're going to update fuel maps in 20 meter resolution. And it's just not there. The vegetation types that we're going to be doing, the drought state, canopy height, cover density, and even the standard structure. So it's going to be rich in layered data, radically improve on how agencies access fire risk. They naturally look at both weather, fuel conditions. Why not train AI to some content to input seasonal fire professionals' use?
Yeah, why not? Deborah, anything I could get you to add to that?
I just think that's so exciting. We're in a future world of information, and whether that's the information that N5 sensors are creating or the information coming in from all of these other tools that AEM is building and using, bringing this all together under one umbrella, like the Elements 360, is what's ultimately going to make a difference for our first responders so they can do their jobs effectively.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And this has been amazing. I'm sure we could go on from here. I mean, you've both been so gracious to take time out of your busy schedules, and I want to respect that and not take up any more than I have to. So we're going to wrap things up, and let's go around and just have each of you give your final thoughts on you see AI impacting wildfire detection and response. And Keith, you get the honor of going first. Let's start with you.
From my perspective, AI is reshaping how we detect and understand and respond to wildfire threats. We're no longer relying on solely reactive systems with tools like AEM, our multi-source ignition detection, our Elements 360 platform. We're really fusing real-time data, camera sensors, satellites, lightning networks, and we're using AI to interpret the data instantly. The key isn't just the detection, it's about the timing that the detection into the fast, confident decision making of AI gives us a head start. So where it's alerting fire crews about new ignition, helping utilities to provide power line, cause of fire, or giving emergency managers better situational awareness, I think we're just scratching the surface. As we keep training these models and we get better fuel data in real-time weather, the human feedback, AI will only get smarter, and that's going to save lives, protect property, and give responders the upper hand.
Yeah, that is exciting that we're just at the beginning of this journey, right? It's come so far already and so much further to go. And with that, Deborah, you get our final word.
All right. Well, that was really well said, Keith. And thank you, Mike, for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. From my side, I appreciate so much the work that our emergency managers and first responders do. And I know that firefighting resources is something that we never, ever have enough of. So I'm super excited for the products that N5 is using, the tools that we're building to make their jobs easier and more effective and safer. And I couldn't be more thrilled than to be a partner inside the AEM network and working with the AEM team on your products as well.
And so that brings us to the end of our conversation. So Deborah, Keith, thank you both sincerely for taking time out of your schedules to be here. I really do appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. I found it to be a real eye-opener hearing about all these different ways that AI is propelling wildfire detection and response into the future. Until next time, this is Mike Nichols for AM and for Talking with the Experts.